Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving headfirst into one of the biggest shifts happening in tech right now, building autonomous AI agents. We're going to cut through all the noise and give you the actual blueprint for how these things are designed. So, let's get into it.
But first, let's just start with a really big question. For decades, software has just been about following our commands. You click a button, it does the thing, you write a rule, it follows the rule. But what if that all changed? What if software could understand a goal, come up with its own plan, and actually act on it? Well, that's the world of AI agents. So here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start with the big idea, just to get a super clear definition of what an AI agent even is. Then we'll get into the blueprint, how they're actually built. We'll explore the toolbox of parts you need, and then we'll fire up the engine to see how they think. And finally, we'll look out to the horizon and talk about the future they're creating. Okay, let's kick things off. The term AI agent is absolutely everywhere these days, but what does it really mean? Let's push past the buzzwords and get to a definition that actually makes sense. At its core, an AI agent really just does three things. First, it perceives its environment, so it's gathering data. Second, it makes its own decisions. And third, it takes actions to hit a very specific goal. And like we say here, the best way to think about it is as an autonomous worker you can delegate to, not just another tool you have to operate by hand.
And this, right here, really nails the difference. See, a traditional program is totally reactive. It just sits there waiting for you to do something. An AI agent, on the other hand, is proactive. It is relentlessly pursuing a goal. A program is stuck with static logic, while an agent can actually learn and adapt as it goes. This isn't just some minor upgrade. It's a huge shift from using a tool to working with a teammate.
All right, so now we know what an agent is, but how in the world do you build one? Well, just like putting up a building, you're going to need a blueprint. So let's take a look at the core architecture that actually makes an agent tick.
It pretty much boils down to these three key layers. First up, you have perception. Think of this as the agent's eyes and ears, pulling in data from all over the place. Next is planning and reasoning. This is the brain of the operation. This is where a big goal like plan my entire business trip to Tokyo gets broken down into tiny doable steps. And finally, you have action, the hands of the agent, the part that actually does things by using its tools.
And this is just so important to get. When you're architecting an agent, you're not just writing a script to perform some task. No, you are designing a system that is capable of independent, goal-oriented action. You're literally building autonomy.
Okay, blueprint in hand, it's time to pick our materials. Building an agent means you have to choose the right components from this, ever-growing toolbox of technologies. Let's see what that looks like.
I absolutely love this quote because it just perfectly captures the single most critical choice you have to make. Picking a large language model, or LLM, is not just a tech decision. It's a strategic one. Are you looking for a creative genius that's amazing at brainstorming, maybe like a GPT-4? Or do you need a super meticulous analyst who can handle really complex reasoning, maybe like a Claude 3? The LLM you choose defines the agent's entire personality and what it's capable of.
And frameworks are the things that help you put all these pieces together. So on one hand, you have something like LangChain, which is fantastic for quickly building prototypes for agents that do linear tasks, like a research assistant. Its real strength is its massive library of tools. But then on the other hand, you have something like AutoGen, which is built for complex multi-agent collaboration, letting you create a whole team of specialized agents that can work together to solve really tough problems.
So we have our blueprint and we've picked our tools. Now, how do we actually fire up the engine? Let's look at the operational loop that lets an agent actually think and act in the real world.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It seems really complicated, but the process underneath it all is actually this elegant, continuous cycle. It's not a one-and-done calculation, it's a constant feedback loop.
And that process is often called the OODA loop. It's a concept that actually comes from military strategy. First, the agent observes. It takes in new info. Then, it orients. It updates its mental map of the world. Next, it decides on the best move to make. And finally, it acts, carrying out that decision. And then, the whole loop starts over, constantly refining its approach.
So here's the really crucial part. Every single time that loop turns, the agent gets a little bit smarter. It learns what's working, what's not, and it sharpens its strategy over time. Its intelligence isn't fixed, it's alive, and it grows by doing.
Okay, we've covered the what and the how. Now that we get the engine that drives these things, let's zoom all the way out and look at the why. Where is all of this heading?
What does a future full of autonomous agents really look like?
Well, one projection I saw suggests that in just the next few years, up to 40% of complex cognitive tasks could be either automated or augmented by AI agents. And we're not talking about simple data entry here. We're talking about an agent that could, say, manage an entire marketing campaign, from the initial research all the way to execution and reporting.
And this quote just brings it all home. The whole paradigm is shifting, right? The last couple of decades were all about building better software tools to make us more efficient. The next decade is going to be about building autonomous teammates that work right alongside us, taking on entire goals, not just little tasks.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. The goal of AI agents isn't to replace people. It's about augmenting our own capabilities. It's about freeing us up from all the complex, time-sucking workflows so we can focus on what we humans do best. Things like strategy, creativity, and real high-level decision-making.
So there you have it. We've walked through the entire blueprint, from the big idea to the architecture and the engine that makes it all run. The question I'll leave you with is this. Now that you have the plan, what's the first thing you're going to hand off to your new autonomous teammate?